Thanks so much for tuning into the Chariots for Hope Under the Hood podcast. Our hope is that the conversation you're about to hear encourages you and inspires you in a real way. At Chariots for Hope, everything we do is fueled by one central truth: the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. The gospel is simple yet life-changing. Because of our sin, we were separated from God. But out of his great love for us, he sent his son Jesus to live the perfect life we never could, die on the cross in our place, and rise again so that we could have forgiveness and new life in him. That's the hope we cling to, and it's the reason that we exist as a nonprofit. With that being said, let's jump into the conversation.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm Mike Lubin with Chariots for Hope, and thank you so much for attending today's Under the Hood podcast by Chariots for Hope. And it's my great honor to have my friend and have my fellow brother in Christ here, that I get a chance to help him with his story and about God's great love for him and for others in such a way that this miraculous conversion that you've had, Mark. So thank you very much for being here today.
It's great to be here, Mike. It's great to talk to you.
Well, super. Well, listen, I think what would help the people understand, tell us a little bit about Mark Cade and where you grew up, kind of your childhood, because we're going to lay that foundation of where you were up until that point that you gave yourself to Christ.
Yes. I grew up in a little town in South Dakota, Salem, South Dakota, a town of about 1,200 people. Everybody knew everybody. My dad was in the insurance business, and my mom was a music teacher. So I grew up in the school system with my mom being a teacher. Completely normal childhood in the sense of we went to church every Sunday. There wasn't a deep relationship with Jesus, but there certainly was a relationship and knowledge of Christianity. Had a sister who was 4 years older than I was, and it really was a good foundation for building the future that would become what I would become in the future. I'll let you direct the question, but childhood, played baseball like most boys, was involved in sports, was involved in music due to my mom's encouragement, but loved classroom work, found it to be easy, and that loved my teachers, had a good relationship with my peers.
Very cool. So you lived there in Salem, South Dakota. And what made you decide, and when did you decide to pursue a medical career at that point?
That is a great question. My cousin, my uncle's daughter, when I was about 12 years old, was diagnosed with leukemia. She died when she was 3. And I was able to visit her in the hospital on several occasions, and there was something that struck a chord inside me, wanting to help kids in her situation, because I knew her situation was hopeless, and I saw the suffering that it caused my family and my aunt and my uncle. And so I decided at that point I wanted to do medicine.
And so then you ended up going where for undergraduate and then for your medical school?
Undergraduate would have been at Augustana in Sioux Falls,
okay, which
was not far away, about an hour. And then I did medical school at University of South Dakota. We had a program where I could do some of my rotations in Boston at Harvard Medical School, and I did a few months there. Graduated from the University of South Dakota School of Medicine in 2000, and then received further training. I decided to specialize in anesthesiology. So I did what's called a transitional year, where you did a variety of different surgical subspecialties. Obstetrics, ER medicine, all of those things, and then decided to go to University of Iowa to specifically focus on anesthesiology.
And we'll get back to somebody that you came across at the University of Iowa that you probably, when you first met him, did not realize the lifelong impact that he would have on you. But we'll get back to that a little bit later in this conversation. Mm-hmm. So when you were at the University of Iowa, South Dakota, Augustana, church, God, anything stirring in your life at all at that point?
Really in the background.
Okay.
I was heavy into the sciences in undergraduate, absolutely loved physics, biology, math, chemistry, and I really didn't see a relevance for God. I thought that science pretty much explained everything that I needed explanation for, and had no real personal relationship with Jesus, did not attend church regularly. So that divergent path after high school through all of the next 12 years of my life with training, academic training and professional training, really became separated from Jesus.
Now, you also, even though this doesn't really pertain to the story, but to tell how much you enjoyed learning, and you also got an MBA from John Hopkins, correct?
I did. In 2018, I was struggling professionally. I was working a lot of hours, and I decided, what else can I do? Is there something else out there? And a degree in healthcare organization, finance administration, I thought was a good pursuit that would lead to other avenues, and didn't quite pan out the way I expected that it would, but it did.
But that almost sounds like a foreshadowing of what we're going to be talking about, in that once you establish your practice here in Omaha, there's a void, and I need to do things to fill that void. And that MBA at John Hopkins could have been an indication of that. Is that a fair statement, do you believe?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So after your academic training, you reside here in Omaha.
Here in Omaha.
Established with the practice.
Yes. A job moved me here.
And at this time, were you married?
I was. I met my wife in Iowa City. She was a nurse. I was a resident. And we moved together to Omaha, Nebraska.
And then you joined a practice here in Omaha.
I did.
And how long did you practice with that practice?
About 12 years, 15 years.
So this is where the story starts to get a little bit more juicy, if you will.
Absolutely.
Give me a flavor for what it was. What were your days like during those 12 years, and the pursuit that you had in your practice and in your practice as being a physician?
My pursuit was caring for patients. I never put my patients last. I always put them first, to my personal and my family's detriment. I wanted to do everything that I could professionally, achieve, be recognized by hospital administration. I thought that achievements, and in terms of money to be made, material pursuits, passions, in terms of all the passions you can imagine, right, that you seek in life when you are void of a religious relationship or a Christian relationship with Jesus.
And at this time, you also had a daughter.
I did. My daughter was born in 2008.
So while you were pursuing, obviously very aggressively, your career, striving for different objectives, I'm assuming a lot of that you just weren't getting fulfillment, and that there seemed to be something that you were chasing, but you did not know what that was.
That is a great, accurate perception. I was chasing something that I could never find.
But from the outside, you had the big house. You had the beautiful wife, the young child.
Yes.
You're making a lot of money.
Yes.
That's what it looked like on the outside. What did Mark Cade feel like on the inside?
Empty.
And what did you do to try to fill that emptiness that you felt in your life?
Substance use, mainly alcohol, as well as company of other people, passions of other ladies.
And so none of those were fulfilling for you.
None.
Did you ever think at all during that time that it was a relationship with Christ that really is what would have given you what you wanted? That never crossed your mind at all during that time?
It did not, because from the outside, I did go to church. I was a member at a church. I went with my wife and daughter occasionally. I sat in the pews. I thought, why am I here?
So obviously during that time while you were working, 80, 100 hours a week,
Sure.
doing it, I'm sure, with the thought that you're doing it for your wife and your daughter, to give them that nice home, give them those nice vehicles, clothes, whatever vacations, whatever it might be, you were actually neglecting them and actually doing more harm to them, even though you were thinking that you were doing it for them.
The greatest fallacy of my life was the masquerade or charade that I was the one doing all the work, but no one, including me, was receiving the benefit.
So a little bit of misplaced objective and chasing something that you were never going to ever be fulfilled by doing what you were doing.
Never be fulfilled on this earth.
So let's talk about a time that you started on the path to ultimately accepting Christ.
Yes.
But let's take us back to that probably 3 days before that event occurred. So I'll leave it there. You take it from there.
Sure. Heavy alcohol use, was separated from my wife and daughter. Wound up with a situation where I was arrested, and I found myself in Douglas County.
Can you talk a little bit about that evening that you were arrested? And
fortunately, I don't remember much of it, but which I think is the grace of God.
Right.
But I do know, based upon arrest records and public records, that I was very close to losing my life. I was very close to being shot by an officer, by two officers.
Can you tell what it was like having you saw the little red dots that you see in movies and television shows?
There were 20 plus U.S. Marshals, sheriff's deputies, lasers everywhere in my house. Yes. And again, I remember flickers of that, but it's all clouded. Obviously, my memory was not. I wasn't perceiving as you and I do now.
Right. And the preference was you're happy that you didn't remember it.
I'm somewhat grateful. Yes.
So the next recollection or memory that you have after you've been arrested is what? Where did you find yourself?
Being in Douglas County.
Okay.
So jail.
And how long did you actually spend in Douglas County?
3 months. I was incarcerated.
And while you were there, that obviously, I'm assuming, gives you a chance to really think, okay, how the heck did I end up here?
Absolutely.
And and maybe you're even thinking, what do I need to do to make sure I don't end up here after I get out of here? Was there anything that in Douglas County that started you on the path towards where you are today?
A chaplain gave me a Bible, and it's a Bible I still have to this day and still read every day. It's tattered, it's worn, and I've never in my life owned a Bible that I have cracked open and worn the way that I have this. So I started with the book of John, and I started with daily Bible verses and reading, because obviously you have time incarcerated to do what you wish with it.
Yep. So obviously now you've had a chance to read the Bible.
I have.
And you've now achieved a lot of, if you will, head knowledge.
I have.
But there was one step still to be made. And as I alluded to earlier in our conversation about this professor that became a mentor of yours at the University of Iowa, let's bring him back into the conversation now.
Yes. Dr. Brown is one of the preeminent anesthesiologists still living in the country. He was my chair at University of Iowa. And one would think where I was boy, 90 days of incarceration would have this would have made an impact. I mean, he would be saved now. I still was resistant. I still didn't want to give everything to God.
So you thought you could still figure it out, even though you thought you had everything.
Intellectually, I'm certain that I can figure this out.
So the humility had not kicked in. And now you obviously understood the circumstance you were in, but you were at that point still going to rely on Mark Cade.
Pride, ego, and arrogance, which has gotten me this far, right?
And look where you're ending up.
Yes.
But again, it didn't break you at that point.
It did not break me. It did not break me. So April 22nd, 2024, needing a reference for the courts, I contacted my former chair, Dr. Brown. And I remember breaking down on the phone and saying, I was your chief resident. You selected me. You handpicked me. I've so disappointed you. And he said to me, no, Mark, you didn't disappoint me. He said, what's your life like with Jesus? I said, I don't have one. He said, let's say a prayer. And that's the day I accepted Jesus.
You know, you hear a lot about how that you have to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. Was that your rock bottom moment?
Absolutely.
Obviously, and you did not know necessarily Dr. Brown was a believer at the time.
Not at all. Not at all.
And here was a gentleman that really actually showed you the way, showed you God's love, and really what you needed to do. Is he still active in your life today?
Right before we spoke, Mike, he messaged me. He does about once a week, once every couple weeks.
And this is something he does not just with you.
No.
But he has several people and a Bible study.
He has a ministry called Solid Rock Ministry that goes to thousands of people across the globe that has been praying for me and many others throughout this entire, as well as Chariots for Hope.
So we heard a little bit about where you were at, chasing all the pleasures and accolades and everything else that the world would see and say, gosh, there's a successful guy. Look at what he's doing. You are that isn't the case for you anymore.
No.
Tell us from that moment when you accepted Christ, give us a feel for what that has meant to you today and your life today.
Ephesians 3, God's love is boundless. Forgiveness, redemption, and healing is real and possible. And there is nothing impossible. Luke 1:37. Nothing is impossible with God. So all of those things started coming together. I met amazing friends right after I prayed that prayer. These men started coming into my life, and people from my past that I didn't have a clue would even remember me or certainly not talk to me or be socially a part of my life. And all of these people, including Chariots, what a blessing. What a blessing. And it's nothing Mark did. It's nothing Mark did.
It's what Christ did for us.
That's right. That's right.
Because from a personal note, I've known Mark Cade post-conversion. When I hear about Mark Cade pre-conversion, I have a hard time squaring that circle because the Mark Cade that I know is not the Mark Cade that I hear about in your story. Mark, that is incredible testimony. Thank you so much for sharing this, because I guarantee you there are people that are listening to this podcast that need it. Yeah. They may not have risen to become a prominent physician and have, everything that the world would view as success. But I think we would all agree now you are far more successful now as a man than you were before. And the impact, while you focused on your patients, I've seen you here at Chariots. The patients are the people that we come across in our organization, and the love and the dedication you show to them, I'm sure, is exactly the way that you did before.
I am honored to be a part of this amazing family. I call them my family because you are my family.
Mark, thank you for the time today.
You bet.
We really do appreciate it. Even though I've heard some of this story before, it just fills me with love for him, love for you, and just the great grace that God has for all of us. So thank you very much again for this time.
I appreciate your friendship, Mike.
You bet.
You mean the world to me.
Well, that's nice of you to say. So thank you very much for attending this Under the Hood podcast. If you haven't subscribed and you just came across this, we'd ask you to go ahead and subscribe. There's a lot of good content on our YouTube channel, and we thank you very much for the time that you spent with us today.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Chariots for Hope Under the Hood podcast. We hope you were encouraged and inspired by the conversation. Our mission at Chariots for Hope is to demonstrate God's love by removing transportation barriers. You can join us in that mission by following us on social media, donating financially, or even donating a used vehicle to help advance someone through one of our programs. To learn more or get involved, visit us at chariotsforhope.org. Thanks so much again for listening, and God bless you.